Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Well, that was interesting. Bitcoin reached 54,400 as of this live, and today's session is going to be somewhat of a victory lap for us. It's been a good day for us, and for using everything really. So today we broke some new highs for Bitcoin. We'll talk about them in a second, and we'll also talk a trading strategy that is actually superior to buy and hold and why you should be aware of that trading strategy. So, without further ado, let's get started. As always, this is not financial advice, so be sure to do your own due diligence before making any investing decisions. The new all-time high that Bitcoin reached today was a all-time high in its realized cap, which reached 470 billion. Now it's Bitcoin the last time it moved, as opposed to all of the Bitcoins multiplied by their current price, that and you add those up, that gives you the market cap. The realized price is adding up the prices of all the Bitcoin the last time they moved. So basically, how much people actually shelled out to buy their Bitcoin. Well, that realized cap today reached an all-time high. And the market cap for crypto in general reached a cycle high. Last cycle, it reached close to 3 trillion. This cycle, its high has reached 2 trillion. And I think that when it's all said and done, this cycle will see an all-time high that is actually higher than last cycle's all-time high. The option market is telling us that at the end of March, investors are expecting a price. Basically, you can see the call options are clustering around the 60 and 65,000 levels. If you go to 70,000, 75,000, you do see a drop off in number. So you can in number of contracts outstanding, and then there's a much bigger drop off at the 80,000, 85,000 levels. But still, there are some people sort of willing to take a chance on Bitcoin reaching that high by the end of March. So a lot of optimism in the markets right now. MicroStrategy continues to buy. So for those who are asking, oh, well, is it too late to get into Bitcoin? Have I missed it? Well, MicroStrategy, which has done pretty well for itself, continues to buy. Their latest purchase of 3,000 Bitcoin was at an average price of close to 52,000. They actually have an average price for their entire Bitcoin holding that is in the low 30s. So they're well on their way to doubling their investment. Now, as I mentioned, it wasn't just Bitcoin, but broader crypto was also doing pretty well. One of our plays and one of our new additions from the last month was Whales Market. We added this to our PIF crypto portfolio, basically on the understanding that decentralized exchanges, we're going to be seeing a lot of activity in this crypto bull run. In particular, Whales Market has a uniqueness about it in that it specializes in cryptocurrencies that are yet to drop, and it makes them available to investors through over-the-counter transactions. They have a pretty nice way of doing things, so they figured out how to do it in a way that guarantees the rights of the buyer and the seller. And they've seen a jump, really, not just in price, which is obviously the end goal for any investor, but this jump in price has been backed by fundamentals. You can see the total value escrowed in the Whales Market platform. Now, total value escrowed will tell you a lot about the liquidity of the decentralized exchange. It'll also tell you a lot about how much trust users have with that exchange and the level of activity that users are doing on that exchange. And it basically, if you look from a month ago, it basically 4 to 5x that level of total value escrow did for a Whales market. So really nice to see that. Another play that we have that has done extremely well are the Bitcoin miners. So CleanSpark, as viewers of this channel, members know, is our biggest holding, and we were up close to 30% today, alhamdulillah. And basically all miners were up today, basically almost all of them north of 10%. And I still think there's some room to run here. So all of this comes at a pretty ironic time. The European Central Bank, shout out to the European Central Bank, they issued a report last week basically saying that the fair value of Bitcoin was still zero. Despite all the hype in the market surrounding Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETFs and their success, the fair value of Bitcoin is still zero. And I found that ironic, considering if you were to compare Bitcoin to the euro, which is the coin issued by the ECB, it looks like the euro is approaching zero when compared to Bitcoin. So yeah, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. And a trading strategy which I found to be quite interesting, and this is from Plan B, definitely a great follow on X. And by the way, I caveat this with past results are not a guarantee of future returns. But he found that if you bought and hold Bitcoin, if you did this from May of 2012 to February of 2024, $5 invested would have become 52,300. So that's that line in blue. On the other hand, if you took the strategy that you were not going to be invested, you were not going to be long Bitcoin around the halvings, and only basically after 18 months of a halving, you would start buying, and then before 6 months of the next halving, you would sell. Then you would actually lose money on your investment in Bitcoin. So $5 would, in May of 2012, believe it or not, would have actually lost value. And by February of 2024, you'd have $1.4. So you can see that is represented in the red line. However, a superior strategy would be, at least based on history, would be to be long Bitcoin around the halving. So 6 months before the halving, which is where we are right now. So we're basically 2 months before the halving. So we're in that period. 6 months before the halving. And if you bought 6 months before the halving and you held until 18 months after the halving, your $5 would be $196,000 by February 2024. So if you followed the strategy starting May 2012, it would be 196,000 by February 2024, basically 4xing the amount of return that you would have had with just a buy and hold. I say this not necessarily so you can follow this ladder strategy, but rather to emphasize the importance of the times that we are in right now. This is when most of the gains in Bitcoin actually happen. And I still think that we're in the beginning innings of the Bitcoin bull run and probably the broader crypto bull run. So for those who are thinking, oh, maybe I missed it, I probably think that there is more time. Definitely dollar cost average. Don't FOMO in. Understand what you're buying. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. But if you do those things, I think holding Bitcoin at this particular point will be advantageous. Not investment advice, of course, just telling you what I would do. If you'd like to follow our portfolios, be sure to become a PIF member. And now we'll go to some comments. Salam Rashad. Do I think being fearful when the market is greedy is true to BTC bull cycle? Yes, it's true always. So I would take a policy of incrementally taking profits, taking some money off the table, despite the bullishness. But yeah, if it's an amount of money that you're completely indifferent to, so it's not money that you actually need anytime soon, then perhaps just at least I think for the time being, holding is a safe bet, because as I mentioned, we're still early. There may be an opportunity to sell post halving and wait for a drop. Maybe there will be a 10-20% drop post halving and buying again, but I wouldn't do that with my whole with the entire position. Maybe I'll do that, and it really depends on how much we run up leading up to the halving. Now, but maybe I'll do that with a portion of my holdings. At what point would it be a good strategy to move out of Bitcoin mining and move into a Bitcoin ETF? So I'm going to start doing that leading up to the halving. So as I realize some of these profits from Bitcoin miners, I'm going to start moving them into the ETFs, inshallah, prior to the halving. And I'll still have some miner positions at the time of the halving, and then I'll finish off moving out of miners entirely post halving, inshallah. So it'll be a gradual process, not in one fell swoop. Oh, alaikum salam. It's my pleasure at this point. The brother says, at this point, these Bitcoin videos have turned into bragging videos. Perhaps. But no, in truth, beyond just bragging, it is to kind of point out to people where we stand right now, and my predictions for what is coming down the pike, inshallah. Where do you think ETH is heading? I have really stopped following ETH because I think that they have too much technical debt to catch up with some of these other players. And I think right now its name and its legacy is what's keeping it where it is, and sort of the network effects that it has by virtue of being sort of the largest um, smart contract platform. But I don't think the future is for Ethereum, especially considering their fees are just prohibitive to make any sort of widely used DApp on. Risky to park 5K in PLL now or too early? So Piedmont Lithium is perhaps the subject of a different live, and perhaps we'll do a deep dive into that. DCA is always great. Profit taking between halvings, definitely. Salam, what's your advice for Nosana? I still think that there is. Oh yeah, that's another crypto that's been doing quite well. I still think there's some room to run for Nosana, and obviously PIF members will know when I sell. New all-time high will be 100K. Who knows? I actually think in this cycle we'll go above that, probably substantially. Brother is asking, is that to say Bitcoin mining companies probably won't do great after halving? No, I think the stronger ones will do quite well, actually. But I think the risks for these miners are greater post halving. Is iron having less scope than CLSK in terms of relation with BTC? So iron has less exposure to BTC than CLSK because it doesn't hodl anything. But if it does decide to hodl, that could be a big catalyst for the stock. Bitcoin is the only one that will not be corrupted. Perhaps time will tell. So far, I think that Solana is the most likely candidate to replace ETH. It is not misleading, Mustafa. The new all-time high is in realized price, and perhaps you came in late, but the realized price did reach an all-time high. I will, inshallah, never do something misleading. Shopping around for cold wallets, any advice? No, not really. It's not my area of expertise, to be honest. Not yet, as it relates to Polyswarm. We did kind of make a little trade there that worked out for us recently, but not yet. At least not for, at current prices. But if I do end up going back into Polyswarm and maybe doing another flip, obviously PIF members will know about it. But right now I have, it really depends on price. If Polyswarm presents me with something I can't say no to, then I'll do it. All right, guys. Thank you all for attending and for your questions. Until next time, take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.